All right, what's up, everybody? It's Hutch here, and welcome to your lesson 2-3. So, we're still in Module 2, and we're talking all about tips and markups. So, today we're going to continue using proportional relationships, but for this situation, we're going to figure out the amount to pay for a tip and the amount of markup on items. So to understand a tip is also called gratuity. They're the same word for when you pay someone a little extra after them serving you at a restaurant, things like that. A markup is an amount of money you increase the price by before selling to other people. So if I bought something off of Temu for $2, but I'm going to sell it for $5, I marked it up $3 extra. So my markup's $3. And so we'll figure out what the percents are and things like that of those markups. All right. Same image as before. Okay. Part over whole equals percent out of 100. Remember that the percent out of 100 is always on the right-hand side, and it's always out of 100. Never changes. Okay. Now today is going to be a little bit trickier as far as identifying the part, but just walk me through, and hopefully you'll see the context of the situation and how that's a little bit different. All right, so the bill for a group of 8 people at a restaurant was $125 before the tip was added. So this is our original amount of money, what we're going to be referring to as our whole. Okay, just like with our lesson yesterday with the clothing or whatever it was the amount of money prior to the tax. Okay, so same situation, so that's something that's consistent. Now the group wants to add an 18% tip, so same as yesterday, this is the percentage. So instead of a P, let's put a percentage there. That way we don't confuse P as part. Okay, and so we have our proportion that we'll create just like we did before. So the amount of the tip, we're not sure, so let's go ahead and label that T, just like we did with tax. The amount of the bill prior to the tip is $125, and then set it equal to, and let's finish out our proportion. It's an 18% tip, okay, and that's always out of 100, okay. Let's go ahead and do our means extremes. Do your variable first, so 100 times T is 100T equals, and then 18 times 125 is 2,250. Okay. Now we know we want to isolate the variable. So same as yesterday, divide by 100 both sides. Cross out your 100 divided by 100 because that equals one whole. And you're left with the not tax this time, but tip of swoop, $22.50 tip. Okay, that's what an 18% tip is. Okay, so now that we have that, let's see if there's any question. It just says the bill was that before the tip was added. The group wants to add 18% tip. I guess there is no little answer for this, but let's go ahead and pretend it says what's the total with the tip. We can go ahead and add those together just like we did yesterday. So I'm going to make that little connection. And so we have $125 for our meal plus the $22.50 tip. And 18% is pretty typical. Nowadays, it's 18 to 20% is sort of what's expected for a tip. It used to be 15%. So $147.50 total is our total bill plus tip. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move to the check. Okay. And let's try this one out. Okay. So here's my percentage. I'm going to label it with a percent symbol. The haircut cost $48. Okay. So that's my whole cost prior to the tip. What was her total bill with tip? Let's go ahead and set up our proportion. Okay, so tip over the whole, which is $48, equals, do we know the percentage? Yep, we want to give a 20% tip. It's always over 100. Okay. I get rid of my percent symbol there since we're just doing our math work. All right, let's go ahead and use means and extremes. Cross multiply. We have 100t equals 20 times 48 is 960. And then we need to isolate the variable, so divide 100 by on both sides. And you are left with not a tax now, but a tip of swoop swoop $9.60. Okay, so what's her total payment for this haircut? Let's go ahead and join those together. We have $48 plus a $9.60 tip equals $57.60 total. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, so those so far very much the same as yesterday with calculating tax. Okay, obviously calculating tax and tip, it's something extra that you're adding on. All right, so now we're going to get into markups. Markups are the amount of money that you're adding on to what's called the wholesale cost. And luckily, wholesale has the word whole in it, which is going to help us with our proportion. So when we're looking for the whole, we're talking about that wholesale cost. Okay, it's the price that the store pays, or that very original cost of an item prior to any markups or anything like that. Okay, so a wholesale cost plus a markup is what creates the selling price. Okay, and so that's what we'll explore right now. This one's going to be a little bit different, though, as we go through this section. So pay close attention as you see it shift a little bit. So the wholesale cost for a shirt at a clothing store is this. So that's our whole. Okay, we know it's our price prior to things happening. And the store manager plans to mark up the shirts by 125%. So here's our percent. So this one doesn't seem much different. Okay, but instead of a tip, let's put an M for a markup. So we don't know the markup. We do know that the whole or wholesale was $17. Create your proportion. Percent always goes on top here, and it's always out of what? If you said 100, you are correct. All right. So basically what we're saying is if 100 is the total, okay, and we want to change it to 125%, we're asking what is that markup. We know it's going to be making this 17 turn into a higher number since we have an equivalent ratio. Let's go ahead and test this out, though, and walk through the process so you can see how it works. All right, so means extremes, cross multiplying. We're doing the variable first, so we have 100 times m equals whatever 17 times 125 is. Okay, we have 2,125. And then we need to isolate the variable, so we know divide by 100 both sides. So this is still very similar to yesterday. And we end up with a markup of swoop swoop $21.25. Okay, and so that is a 125% markup. Okay, and what that means, though, is that's how much we're going to add on to the price. Okay, and that's our markup amount. Okay, so we take our markup amount and we have to add it to the 17. And so we end up with 21.25 plus the 17. And that gets us an overall sale price then of $38.25 total. Okay, or we could say, really more appropriate to answer the question, would be sale price. Okay, because it says what will be the selling price be. So that's a better answer for us. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and check this out. If you want to pause and try it and then hit play to check, you can, or you can just follow along. Okay, so the wholesale cost of the basketball backboard is $32. So that's my whole. So I'm going to label that. My markup is 85.5%. So this is obviously my percent. They want to know the selling price. So let's go ahead and set it up. So we'll use the variable M for markup. Over $32 is our whole, or our wholesale price. And then let's do our percent side. So we have 85.5. That's always over 100. Okay, so I want to know what is the markup. Okay, if we're increasing it by 85.5%. So let's go ahead and do our means extremes. And we have 100M equals 85.5 times 32, 2,736. Divide by 100 on both sides to isolate the variable. And we have M equals, swoop, swoop, a markup of $27.36. Okay. So that makes sense because it wasn't 100% markup, so we didn't reach the $32. It's less than that. So that's how much we're adding to the wholesale cost. So realize these businesses, most markups are really high like this. These businesses are making a lot of money when they sell things compared to what they purchase it for. All right, so let's add together the $32 plus the markup amount. And we get $59.36, okay, as our total sale price or selling price, okay? All right, so that's how that needs to look. All right, now example 3 is a twist. Notice there is no percentage listed in these. They're asking for the percent of markup, okay? So this is where I want you to maybe put a little star by this section. This is your first one out of our 2 days that is giving you different information. And so you need to just be aware of how to interpret this, okay? So we have the selling price. So they're giving you the sale price of the car. So this is sort of like your final answer because it's what we were putting here for sale price. So just be aware of that, okay? Ben Research's defined the wholesale cost was this. So this number is our W. That's our whole. Okay, so let's start to mark some things that we know already. Okay, so I'm going to go here. We're going to create our proportion. I know the wholesale cost was $22,100. Okay, do you know the percent? Well, I don't know the percent, so let's put a P here for percent. But we do know that percents are always out of what? They're always out of 100, right? Okay, so this is what I know so far. I should be able to put in my markup, right? Because let's think about what a markup is. A markup is the amount of money that we add on to the wholesale to create the sale price, okay? And so let's think about what that means. So that means this is my sale price, okay? If I take away the wholesale price, then I'm left with the markup, okay? Because the markup, remember, is that amount of money extra that we add on sort of to make a profit, basically, okay? So if I do $24,199.50 and subtract the $22,100, we're left with our markup. Okay, and so our markup is $2,099.50. Okay, and so that's what we're going to put in is the markup, $2,099.50. Okay, so that's the trickiest part of this, is realizing that the sale price, okay, is the markup. It's really like, if I highlight this, it's this plus this equals the sale price. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. So to get this number, I have to subtract the sale price minus the original whole price to get that markup amount. Okay, now we can go ahead and through the process. Okay, so let's go ahead and use your means extreme. So we do the variable first. So I have 22,100p, okay, equals, and now we're doing times 100, right? Okay, so we know a trick for that. That's swoop, swoop. So I have I'm just going to write the numbers out, 209950, okay? And that's where my decimal is. Then I'm going to go every 3, 1, 2, 3, and put my comma, 1, 2, 3. So I have 209,950. It's a big number because we're dealing with a car price. All right, now I want to get P by itself. So right now I have P times 22,100. So I need to divide 22,100 to both sides. You can see it's still the same process. It just has different numbers now. This crosses out because it makes one whole P. So now P, what is P? Well, this is my percent, right? Okay, and so what is my percent? Okay, let's go ahead and do this division. So 209,950 divided by 22,100 equals 9.5. Okay, 9.5. Okay, and so this is the number that goes right here in this spot. So we have 9.5. Okay, and that is our percent. So what is the percent markup? It's a 9.5% markup. And that's what we circle. Okay, so you really just stick with the process. Okay, because remember, the number that is in the top there was the actual percent. Okay, 85.5%. Okay, so that's what we just figured out too, is the P. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that out. If you want to pause and try it out on your own, you can. Okay, or you can just follow along with me. Okay, so the wholesale cost, so that's one big thing I'm noticing is the wholesale, that's my whole, sells them for 20 bucks. Okay, so it's this jewelry. What's the percent markup? So I don't know the percent. So let's go ahead and set this up. Okay, so I do know the wholesale cost, which is $12.50. Okay, the wholesale goes there every time. I do know that it's out of 100. Okay, I don't know the percent. That's what they're saying. What is the percent? So we'll label that P. But I can figure out what the markup was. So remember, I know that they sold them for $20. Okay, so what was the markup if the original was $12.50? So we just do 20 minus $12.50. And so the markup was $7.50. Okay, so now we can go ahead and solve for the percent. So go ahead and means extreme. We always do your variable first. So I have 1250 times P equals 750 times 100. So I can just move 2 spots to the right this time, which is 750. Okay, and then we need to solve for P. So P times 1250, let's divide 1250 on both sides. Cross it out, and we have P equals whatever that percent is. So 750 divided by 1250. Oops, I messed up. 12.50, and we have 60%. Okay, and so this goes here. That is a pure percent answer. So it's a 60% markup. And there you go. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and check out your apply, which we know is typically a 2-stepper with some multiple things. Carrie and 3 friends went out to dinner. They split a large pizza, and each person had a salad and a soda. They want to leave a 15% tip on the cost of the food, and we also have a sales tax of 8.25%. Figures, we got a couple things here. So we have a tip, and we have a sales tax. How much will each person pay if they split the bill evenly? Okay, so it's Carrie and 3 friends. So step 1, how many people are we talking about? We're talking about 4 people. Okay, they split the large pizza. Notice I have to reread to think through this carefully now that I read it once. They split a large pizza. Each person had a salad and a soda. Okay. They want to leave 15% on the cost of the food. The sales tax is 8.25%. How much each will person pay? Okay, so let's go ahead and figure this out. Okay, they split a large pizza, so there's only one of these pizzas. Okay, they each had a salad and a soda, so this is times 4 people times 4 people. So let's take care of that first, so we can get some accurate information. 250 times 4 is $10. So they spent $10. They spent $18.60, one pizza, and then 225 times 4 is $9. But I'm gonna always double check my work. Yep, $9. So there's the cost of all the food. Okay, let's go ahead and total that up. So we have 1860 plus 10 is 2860 plus 9 is $37.60. So we have $37.60. That's the total cost of all the food. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure this out now. They want to leave a 15% tip on the cost of the food. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate our 15% tip. Okay, so we're thinking about yesterday, how we did that. We don't know what the tip is, but what is the whole price prior to tip? Well, it's $37.60. So I have to slow down and think about yesterday, think about today, think about all the pieces here. Okay, so they want to leave a 15% tip. So the percentage goes on top and it's always over 100. So this will tell me what the 15% tip is. We can do our means extremes. And we have 100t equals whatever 15 times 3760 is, which is 564. And then we can divide by 100 on both sides. Same process as before, nothing tricky. And so I'm going to label it what it is. My tip equals, dividing by 100 goes to the left 2 spots, $5.64. Okay, so that's how much tip there is. We also have a sales tax of 8.25%. So we have to calculate what the sales tax is on the food. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Instead of T being tip, now it's tax. The tax is still on the $37.60. You don't do tax on the added tip amount. You do it based on just the food itself. Okay, and what is the percentage for the sales tax? Well, it's 8.25. That's what 1/4 is, and it's always over 100. So let's do the same thing. We can do our means extremes and find out what the tax is. So we have 100t equals 8.25 times 3760. And we have $310.20. Okay, let's go ahead and isolate the variable. Divide by 100, divide by 100. And we have a tax of, if we're dividing by 100, it goes swoop, swoop. And so we have a tax of $3.10. It's not going to 11 because of the 2. Okay. All right. So there's all the information that we have. Okay. Let's go ahead and figure things out here. So we have an original price. We have a tip and a tax. So let's go ahead and add all these together. Okay. So I'm going to show what I'm doing here. So we have 564 tip plus the tax of $3.10 plus the original food amount of $37.60, and that gets us $46.34 total bill, okay, with tip and tax. But the question says, how much will each person pay if they split the bill evenly? So we have to divide this up to the 4 people, right? So divided by 4, each person needs to pay. So we'll say each person must pay $11 and 58 cents. Nope, 59 because of the rounding. And there we go. And that'll end up giving the person a little bit extra, but that's okay. Okay? All right. So there we go. So the check section here, okay? Brian has $24 worth of pizza delivered to his house. He pays the bill plus a 15% tip and a $7 sales tax. He also pays a $3 delivery fee that is charged after the tax and the tip. Oh boy, we got a lot going on here. How much change does he receive if he pays with a $20 bill? All right, so here's my original wholesale price of the pizza. Then we have this 15% tip, and we have a 7% sales tax, and then we have a $3 delivery fee, but that's after the tax and the tip. They don't even want to know the total. They want to know how much change does he get after paying with a 20. So, oh my goodness, all this stuff. Sorry about that, but welcome to some crazy problems. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Just kidding. You can cross that out. Let's head to the homework. You've done enough. All right. So 2-3 practice homework. Let's go ahead and walk through these ones. You're going to do 5, 7, 9, and 12 on your own. Okay. And I'll walk through these other ones with you. You can see I got rid of problem 1, 2, and 3 to speed things up for you as well. Okay. All right. We know example 1 and 2 are super simple. The example 3 ones are the ones where we're finding the percent. Okay. And then we have our 2 applies. So you can go ahead and let's go ahead and do these. And then you can finish the rest on your own. All right, so here's the original cost of going to the local salon. So that's my wholesale cost. The tip is 18% tip. What was the total cost? Okay, so let's go ahead and set up your proportion. Okay, so we don't know what the tip is as money. We know it's out of 24 of the whole. And then what's the percent? It's an 18%, and it's always out of 100. So let's go ahead and do our means extremes. So cross simplify, we have 100t equals whatever 18 times 24 is. You should be getting really fast at these ones. Divide 100 by on both sides. Swoop, swoop. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so t equals $4.32. So there's the tip. So what was the total cost? Let's go ahead and add these up. So we have $24 plus $4.32, and we have $28.32 total. And there we go. Okay, so those ones are nice and easy. Number 5 is the same style. Let's go ahead and do number 6. The wholesale cost is that. Here's my percentage. Find the selling price. Okay, so my percentage of markup is listed there. So we have, now we're doing a markup, so I'm going to use M, even though it's the same process. What's the wholesale? It's $98.75. Set it equal to the percent. We know percent always goes here, 33.3%, and it's always out of 100. Okay, let's go ahead and do means extremes to solve this. So we have 100m equals 33.3 times 98.75. And we have a nice big number here, 3,288.375. Okay, divide by 100 on both sides. That crosses out, and we are left with a markup of how much? Divide by 100, swoop, swoop. A markup of $32.88. Okay, when we round to the nearest cent. All right, so that's the markup. They want to know what the selling price is. So if we take our original wholesale and add the markup, $98.75 plus the markup of $32.88, and we have a selling price of $131.63, and we can say sale price. So always answering the question. All right, number 8, ready? Carrie is making doll clothes for a holiday craft show. Wholesale cost of the material. There's my wholesale, the W. She sells the outfit for $15. So this is my sale price, okay? And what is a sale price? Well, it's a price plus the markup, okay? And so we do have to figure out what the markup is, but we can do that. And they want to know what the percent is. So the percent is the unknown. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this up. So we have the wholesale price we know is $9.38. And I know everything's always out of 100 on the percent side. It says what is the percent, so I don't know the percent. Okay, and remember 15 is not my markup. Okay, 15 is not my part. I have to actually calculate the part. Okay, so if the sale price was $15 and the original price was $9.38, we have to just do that subtraction of 15 minus $9.38, and it'll tell us how much the markup was. So the markup was $5.62, okay, for the part markup. So now we can go ahead and do means extremes and find out what that percentage increase is. Okay, so do your variable first. We have 9.38 times P equals, and this is easy to multiply by 100, swoop, swoop, 562. Divide by 9.38 on both sides, and cross that out, and we end up with a percent of, let's see, 562 divided by 9.38, and we end up with a percent of 59.9. It says round to the nearest percent, so that would be whole percent. So instead of 59.9, we would say 60%. And I shouldn't have put a dollar symbol there. Didn't mean to do that. So we have 60%, and that's what goes right there. So you would say a 60% markup. Okay, so I'm looking back. What's the percent of markup? Okay, all right. So those are yours, 5, 7, and 9. Let's go ahead. I'll do number 11 with you, and then number 12 would be your apply to mess with on your own. Okay. All right. So Luis bought a frame and canvas online for $125. Okay. Then she bought the supplies shown in the table and paid a 7% sales tax on these supplies only. Okay. So the frame and canvas were just this separate $125. Okay. So I'm going to do frame and canvas $125. Okay. But no tax on those. There is a 7% sales tax on the brushes and paint. She took the amount that she spent on the canvas, frame, and supplies and marked up the price by 115%. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and as a reader, I have to sort of like slow down and think about this for a second. She took the amount from the canvas, frame, and supplies, and she marked up the price by 115%. How much did she charge for her painting? Okay, so let's process this a little bit. And I'm talking you through this because I want you to realize like things aren't always so like, oh, like I know exactly what to do. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. And like even for me as an adult, I have to slow down and think about it because I don't want to make a mistake, right? All right. So she bought the supplies shown in the table and paid a 7% sales tax on these supplies, okay? So really, this isn't the price that she spent. She spent that and 7% more because of the tax, Okay, so let's figure out what the tax is on these. Okay, so I'm going to join these together first of all. So we have our $12.50. Move over there, calculator. Plus our $19.50. Okay, oh, that's a nice number. So these had a $32 cost to them. Okay, and so this would be our W for right now. Let's figure out how much those supplies would be with the 7% sales tax. Okay, so we have T is the tax over the 32 whole or wholesale, and there was a 7% out of 100 tax on those. Let's do our means and extremes. So you can see I'm like just still following our steps. 7 times 32 is 224. And I'm going to divide by 100, divide by 100, cross that out, and I end up with a tax of, swoop, swoop, $2.24. Okay, so I need to add the tax to that. Okay, and so we end up with 32, 33, $34.24. Okay, so all this stuff ended up being $34.24 is what she paid for that. Okay, all right, so we now have the frame and canvas is $125. The supplies with the 7% sales tax is $34.24. Okay, and she took all that and she marked up the price by 115%. Okay, and so we want to know how much is that markup. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these two costs, and we do need to add them together to get a sort of like total cost. So $34.24 plus the 125, and we end up with $159.24. I have a bad memory. $159.24. Okay, so this is my whole cost right here so far. Okay, on all that stuff. And we are going to mark it up by 115%. So now let's use this information and set up our proportion. Okay, so what is the markup? I don't know. I do know that the W or the whole is $159.24. And I know that my markup is going to be 115%, and it's always out of 100. So let's go ahead and do our cross multiplying. Okay. Because of space, let's go ahead and move it over here. So we have 100M equals 115 times 159.24. Ooh, big number. 18,312.6. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and divide 100 on both sides. Cross that out. And we're left with a markup of how much? Let's see. Divided by 100. Here's my decimal point, though, so be careful. 1, 2. So we end up marking up this canvas, painting, whatever, $183, and it wouldn't be 12 cents, it would be 13 cents because of the 6. Okay, and so there we go there. So there's my markup amount. And it says how much did she charge for painting? If she marked it up $183.13, well, let's take our markup, add it to our wholesale cost. Look at the profit she's making if she's increasing her price by 115%. So it's more than 100. It's 100% plus a little bit more. That's why it's more than 159. So we have $159.24 plus $183.13. Oh, $183.13. There we go. Okay, so ready? How much did she charge? She charged $342.37 for all that stuff. Okay. All right. So you have number 12 to do. It's the same idea, okay, of figuring out the sales tax and the tip. Okay. But then you need to just add a random $10 delivery fee at the very end. Just add $10 after you do all that stuff. Okay. And then how much change does he receive if he pays with two $50 bills? So basically subtract everything from 100, and we'll see what you get. So that one's going to take you a little bit of time, just like this one took me. But you have problem 5, 7, 9, and 12 to do on your own. So that's what you can work on. I don't mind if you work with a partner, if you're in the classroom today, or if you're at home, obviously you're going solo, but reach out for help if you need.